The Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, will deliver his 2023 budget speech today. The energy crisis is sure to top the agenda as the country finds itself in the midst of stage 6 blackouts. But the amount of money he can hand out is limited as tax revenue is set to drop. Just last year, Godongwana announced a tightening on bailouts for state-owned entities, and we're about to get into this with eNCA's Rofhiwa Madzena, who's outside Parliament looking ahead to the budget speech come 2 p.m. this afternoon. Rofhiwa, good morning to you, colleague. A lot of us are anticipating what the Finance Minister has to say, speaking to different interest groups from business and labour. And I mean, when we talk labour, we think about the unemployment rate currently sitting at 43%, totaling to approximately 12 million citizens unemployed. So surely the Finance Minister will have a lot to answer to as we build anticipation how exactly efforts from government are looking to address this issue in labour.
That's right, Dumelo, coming to you from a sunny Cape Town this morning. And basically what the minister is working with here is a 4-slice pizza that has to accommodate a family of 8. Clearly not enough. And there are many issues, as you correctly mentioned in your intro there, around the power crisis, there are issues of health, creating employment opportunities and the like. But the big one, which we're focusing on at this hour, Dumelo, is around the wages of government sector employees. So the public sector wage bill over the last few years, government has been reining that in because it's bloated. It's one of the biggest expenses that government has traditionally had, and the aim here is to cut it down. That, of course, does affect wage negotiations between the unions and the public sector workers, because the increase that government was initially offering was way below inflation, Dumelo, and with inflation sitting or hovering at around 7%, government workers were saying we want 7% plus, and government saying that we cannot give you that because the purse just doesn't allow for that kind of increase. So there have been threats over the last few days. You would have seen the union saying that they will be taking to the streets, delivering a strike certificate and saying to government, we will down tools and we will be striking if you're not going to meet our demands. So that is something that the Finance Minister is going to have to weigh up in his speech today. And of course, we can't afford a mass public sector strike, Dumelo, because these are those who provide the most essential services. We're talking about police officers, nurses, doctors, social workers, teachers. These are essential services, and should we see any kind of disruption to them, there will be some dire consequences there.
And also, I mean, Rofhiwa, when you talk about unions and the work they're doing in terms of defending the wages of the workers, we're talking cost of living here. Gareth and I were just talking about how the food basket has increased. We know that food levies also anticipated to continue increasing. So that's precisely it, right? Unions are saying the wages that the workers have to almost forced to accept at this point cannot match the cost of living, the cost of food, the cost of fuel. School fees is expensive. So it means that workers are, standing against a wall, and there's almost no relief whatsoever in sight from government.
That's right, Dumelo, and that is basically what they've been lamenting over the last few months, is that the price of living in general has increased significantly, and the increases that workers have been getting have been below par, so they don't match those increases. So unions, Dumelo, are currently calling for between 10 and 12% increase in wages. Government are coming back to the table last week, if I'm not mistaken, at around 4%. We're not exactly sure where they stand at the moment. In fact, we are supposed to be speaking to COSATU this hour to get a gauge of where they stand with government here. And that essentially is the real issue, is that more people have got more expenses than they do income. And unfortunately, because of the current economic climate, there aren't any opportunities to make money elsewhere. So government here has to accommodate workers as best as they can. In fact, what some of the unions are calling for, Dumelo, is that stop wasting money on SOEs like ESCOM and give that money to the public service workers that actually do work every single day. And that is the sentiment, in that these state-owned entities are guzzling money on an annual fiscal year, every year for the last decade or so, and they've got nothing to show for it. And yet the people that are suffering are the frontline workers who are providing the basic services to all of South Africans every day. and they're not even afforded a decent wage increase. So those are some of the issues that we are grappling with here, Dumelo, and I suppose Minister Enoch Godongwana is going to have a tough time trying to strike a balance between making sure that our fiscus remains healthy, but also making sure that those who provide frontline services are kept happy as well. So that's all from me for now, Dumelo. We'll be back hopefully in the next few minutes with COSATU's Matthew Parks, who is around the precinct, and he'll be joining us for a further conversation on this.
Thank you so much, Rofhiwa. We'll be sure to catch up with you again as soon as COSATU's Matthew Parks arrives for this conversation. Quite important to hear from the unions, the alliance partner as well of the ruling party, the ANC, to hear where they stand with regards to, their expectations. I mean, early on, I remember in the week while standing in for Masego Rahlaga, I spoke to Sizwe Pamela from COSATU, and they tabled 5 critical challenges against which the country's currently grappling. The Treasury's tax and spending policies must be measured, just to name a few. They said extreme poverty, rising poverty, unprecedented levels of unemployment, rising multidimensional and intersecting inequalities, dilapidated economic and social infrastructure, corruption and widespread crime. Those are just some of the challenges they're hoping that the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will address, and I suppose we'll have to wait and see if indeed the Minister will heed this call.